Yeah, bought that dog and they named it Alex.
Minky.
I was so hungover.
I believe we're live.
It was a day after St Patrick's Day.
Yeah, we're not.
Oh, yeah, they know it.
Okay, well, I'm not going to chair this from this end, but as it's the start of the new municipal year, the first item is the election or confirmation of the chair. I will hand over to the existing chair to take us from that part. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome all councillors, members of the public, people watching us back on YouTube to our Finance and Governance Committee meeting on today, Wednesday, the 10th of June, 2026. I am Councillor Civil and as Ian has just said, as the outgoing chair, I've been asked to chair this item only, which is the confirmation of the chairman of this committee for this financial year. Do we have any nominations for the chair of the committee? Councillor Clifford.
I nominate Councillor David Northam, who sadly isn't able to make it tonight.
Thank you very much. Anyone like to second him on that? Thank you, Councillor Ban. Any other nominations? Okay then, in that case, could I ask everyone by show of hands votes for Councillor Northam to be chair of this committee this year?
That is 5, Chair.
And votes against?
That is 5, Chair, so come down to your votes as the deciding.
Okay, thank you. I will vote for Councillor Northam in the absence of any other nominees, not least in reason. So does that mean that we?
So he is duly elected chair for the coming year.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I imagine I need to do the next item as well, as the new chair is not here to elect a vice chair for this committee. Do we have any nominations for the vice chair? Councillor Furman.
Nominate Councillor Clifford.
Thank you very much. And would anyone like to second that? Councillor David Harris, straight in there. Thank you. Any other nominations? Okay. Then
I'm just a little bit concerned. I don't have any objection to Councillor Clifford being vice chairman. But does that give you a conflict of interest in your that's fine, Simon. I just wanted to be sure.
Just to clarify, Chair, I have taken advice from the Dorset Council Monitoring Officer and also Head of Legal, and also spoken to the Deputy Town Clerk, and all of them say it's the same risk as any one of us who serve on 2 separate councils.
Excellent. No, and thank you, Councillor Weller. It's worth making it abundantly clear. Quite right. In which case, votes for.
Is unanimous, Chair.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Would you like to come and chair the rest of the meeting?
I've just realised.
Surely you knew.
Sweet.
Bless that chair.
Thank you all. Now you'll see that I'm armed with both a laptop and sweets. Now that's because I suffer from hay fever, and supplement means I don't sneeze through the meeting. So you'll forgive me if you see me.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Civil to be vice chair for this meeting.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks.
I'll second that. All those in favour?
Thank you, sir. That was very
Presumptuous. All you got to move. Don't play me. I don't need to.
Right, all right, okay.
Apologies for absence.
Apologies for absence. We have an apology received from Councillor Norton, who's being substituted by Councillor Bowen, from Councillor Toft, who's being substituted by Councillor Harrison, from Councillor Thomas Taylor, who is being substituted by councillor Atkinson. Can I have a proposer that we accept all those apologies and substitutions? And seconder, happy to do that. Votes in favour? Unanimous. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda is the declaration of interest. There have none been pre-notified. I've had a clarification from my own position, which is the same for all councillors serving on two separate councils. Are there any other declarations coming forward? Not seeing anything, so we'll move on to item 5, which is the minutes for the last meeting. Can I have any questions arising from those minutes? Everyone happy with them? Don't see any comments, so can I have a proposal to accept the minutes? Councillor Civil, I have a seconder, Councillor Furlong. All those in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Moving on to councillor questions. There are no questions that have been received.
But we do now have one from councillor
So I
Cowley.
was just going to ask if there are any councillor questions.
I would like to ask that the age debt analysis be reintroduced to the agenda each time as a confidential item for each F&G meeting agenda in the future.
Do you have any commentary on that?
Yes. What are we looking to understand from that wouldn't come out of the officers going to be the operational work?
I just think as a committee that we should have sight of this particular document. We used to in the past, it was always on the agenda when I was last on the committee, and I'd like to see it reintroduced now.
Okay.
Not for any, other purpose than to give us knowledge of where we are.
Yeah. What did the committee do with it when it was presented previously?
Took noted where we were and
Noted.
sorry, we noted it, yes.
Yes, I think, I'm not disagreeing with the fact that it shouldn't have that scrutiny involved with it. Well, there's a couple of things which are obviously on this committee now, which reflect the report as it is. But I suggest that it may be referred to, not to say that we won't have it at this meeting, but refer it back to the chair's meeting to sort of determine how best councillors can then take that forward, whether that's part of the work of the main committee, but it definitely have some sort of councillor involved, but just to refer it back to that forum, chair's meeting, and we can take that forward.
Would you be happy with that, councillor Nixon?
Yes, I think that'd be fine, thank you.
Well, in which case, that's, I don't think it's something that can happen, so we'll make sure that happens.
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other councillor questions coming forward? Seeing any, so we'll move then on to public questions. There are no public questions and there are no members of the public here today, so no public questions today. And that moves us on to the annual report. So I'll hand over to the Deputy Town Clerk to take us through his annual report.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the part of the year where we need to formally agree the annual governance statement and the statement of account. You would have had sight of the annual governance statement, which sets out a number of assertions which we need to convince ourselves that we adhere to. Jane is a proper officer, myself as RFO, go through various aspects of our control environment and our governance arrangements to make sure that we remain fit for purpose. You've had the internal auditor in this week, and I was just they finished yesterday. So they could supply us with the internal audit report to go to full council. But I'll just read. I'll put on the screen with my eyes. Our testing did not identify any procedural errors requiring reporting to external auditor at this time, nor do we observe any material weaknesses in internal controls that pose a risk to public funds. In fact, the processes and procedures together with their own built-in compensating controls are robust, strictly followed in many respects and model of good practice. We are pleased to report that overall the system of procedures currently in place are appropriate and effective. So the internal auditor has gone through the work which Shane and I do as part of that initial work for the annual governance statement, and they've gone through and confirmed that they agree with the fact that we can say that we do comply with all of the control and governance assertions we need to. So on that basis, Chair, we're just looking for the annual governance statement to be recommended to full council for approval.
Are there any questions of the Deputy Town Clerk about the annual governance statement? Councillor Silver.
Not a question, but a thank you to the SLT and all the officers involved in putting that together. That sounds like an absolute worst, a very clean bill of health. It's not the nature of these things to be glowing, is it, as a general rule, but that's, I'm sure, as close as it gets. So well done to you all. Thank you.
I'd like to echo that sentiment, so congratulations to you, and please pass on those comments to the senior leadership team.
Can I formally propose that we accept the recommendation to send the report on to full council for approval?
And we have a seconder, Councillor Nicholson, Peterson. All those in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you all very much, and again, congratulations to the whole of the team. That moves on to item 9, approval of the accounting statement for the years 25-26, and again, Deputy Town Clerk, to you.
Thank you, Chair. So again, this is a statement which has been checked by the internal auditor. They've gone through the figures to ensure that they reflect what transactions have taken place. As I say every year, it's a very, very simplified statement of accounts we have to produce. That could change going forwards, but that's something for next year because we need to recognise that an organisation our size having 4 boxes to fill in probably isn't overly significant in terms of how we do. So the numbers have been checked, they are what they are, and we would just like the statement to be recommended to go to full council for approval. Slide.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Any questions arising? Not seeing any, so can we have a proposal that we accept this? Councillor Civil, seconder, Councillor Thurman, all those in favour?
Not quite unanimous.
1, 2, 3, 4.
9.
9 against, and any abstentions? Thank you all. And that moves on to item 10, which is the financial outturn for the past financial year 25-26. Deputy Town Clerk will take us through this report.
Again, thank you, Chair. So a bit more substantial this report. I would just give you the headline figures first. You'll see from the report that there's an underspend of 437,000. It's a large figure. 230 of that is to do with vacancies which we have held during the year. Another 70,000 of that has been relating to the income which we receive. We don't build that into the budget because it can't be always guaranteed, and if we did put it into the budget, then we would end up having to take it out again if the interest rates dropped. So that is the overarching figure. Normally at this meeting, we would make recommendations to go forward of how that underspend may be allocated to specific projects. We built into the budget process this year a significant amount which was there to fund our priorities. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend, as a matter of course, allocation of that full amount. Now, it would be useful to set aside to support those other projects or priorities which come forward in the future. There are, however, the normal ones which we do recommend we set some amounts aside. The election reserve we do every year because we only do elections every 5 years, then we prudently put a small amount each side so we can cover the full elections. In this case, it will be 2029. As part of the budget process, there was an agreement that we would take some money out of the budget, but we've set it aside for the first year just to give officers that fallback position if they can't quite keep within the budgets, but we'll ask them to try and do that. But we have got that contingency in that there. And inevitably, there are some delayed works, which if you recall back to January, February, was very, very wet. So some of those works which we would have done in January and February just got delayed. We're not allowed to put provisions in there and because works haven't been completed, but what we normally do is just put that small amount set aside to do the works now that the weather's better. Also, as part of this, we have to put out a statement that allows people to come if they want to, or give them the opportunity to come and give an inspection in terms of our accounts, and that's a legal requirement which we will do. The recommendations we've got there is no draft act on position. Recommend that the amounts highlighted in the report are put to allocated at full council to the purposes which I've just said, and ask the budget working group if it's stood up to look at the list of reserves which we've got, because I think there's an awful lot there and it's probably too much to go through in this committee, just a committee meeting, because it would take sort of 2 hours, but I think there is a need that budget working group to have a look at the reserves involved to come back with recommendations for any further.
So, thank you for that. I do think it's a large amount of money. I do think that it's worth looking at our reserves as a total and whether that's an appropriate level of reserves to be held for accounts of this size. So I'm very supportive of the of point 3, which is actually looking a bit more detail on it. But if I throw open to the meeting for any comments on the meter report, Councillor Dickinson.
Just so that we can have it on the record, Tumbledown Farm lost 68,000 this last financial year. I think that needs looking at. So I just want it on the record. The Tumbledown Farm is a big loss to this council. And I would like to see it improved, the ways to lessen loss.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Bain.
Can I just say, I agree that that amount of money was spent at Tumbledown, but I think talking about it as a loss is misleading. I feel like you could say I feel like we could say that we lost thousands of pounds on raking the beach. It wasn't lost, it was spent. So I just think I understand you want that on record. I would like the counter on record also.
Could I come back?
5 minutes.
Tumbledown Farm was sold to us as councillors as a business. And it hasn't changed. And it has lost £68,000.
I think we have some perspective, which is we've just declared a very significant underspend. So whilst you may not like the fact that it's not making money, and it's not making the money that a business would be projected to, within the overall portfolio of those councils, a relatively small amount. Any other comments? And Councillor Furman.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the reporting. I actually went through this, members, line by line.
Classic.
Believe you. And I was encouraged by it because we have got an underspend, but what I'm more encouraged with is being able to use this data. So when we then meet as a budgeting group later on in this council year, that we'll be able to feed this in to how we set budgets going forward. In respect, perhaps, of lowering our impact on the precept, whether it goes up or it goes down, or our choices that we can make on that. I think that's where an underspend is significant, and I would not like us probably in the vein of Ian there, where we shouldn't allocate that money. I think what we should do is we should look at the new sort of budget template that we're using, understand where our underspends are coming from, adapt our budgets accordingly, and then see what we can spend money on, rather than just looking at this amount and thinking, yeah, that's a lot of money. I think more so it's a lot of money for taxpayers to potentially save, rather than for us to think of what we can spend it on. I think that's where we should go first. So I agree with that, and thank you, Deputy Town Clerk, for that. I would just say, in reference to the conversation previously, we are correct that £68,000, no matter what, I think, I say this as somebody who's very active on the budget group, £68,000 may be small in comparison to our total budget, but it's an amount that we should endeavour to save the taxpayer. It doesn't matter the amount, it matters that we're being prudent and ensuring best value for taxpayers. 68,000, 200,000. If I looked at a budget and saw that somebody was spending over £68, I'd question it out of principle, because our working manifest shouldn't be one that numbers that totals are significant. It should be the way that we measure our fiscal responsibility, and if that's tight, then it's tight right down to zero. So I think that as a budget group, I think this is really positive what we've got coming forward. I look forward to the working groups that are set up with it. I will put myself forward that and encourage councillors to do that as well, so we can continue to make good process on the books.
Mr. Harris.
I'd like to know before I decide what to do with these recommendations when they become a proposal, because they're not proposals yet. I'd like to know why we set up a budget group. Surely all these questions that have been talked about this evening, are ones that we as a committee should be involved with. And I don't want 4 people going off and taking all the decisions and coming back with a proposal. I want to be part of the discussion of that proposal and how those proposals come before us and what the options are and all the issues that Councillor Furman has raised in terms of the fact that there are bigger questions than just how to spend £418,000 or whatever the figure is.
Yeah.
So I would like to be very careful on what we decide on how we go forward with making decisions on how the budget should be put together.
So if I just clarify, the recommendation from the officers is to ask the budget working group to look at a very specific area, which is the use of the existing reserves, and recommend changes in that allocation. And I would like to ask them to add a few words to that recommendation, which would be to also look at the level of appropriate reserves this council should hold. I think because we've got such a significant underspend, it takes our overall reserves to, I'll ask the Deputy Tax about the exact figure, but approximately 3.2 million, something like that, 3.3.
Reserves are big.
Does that include the underspend?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a very significant figure compared to our overall budget. So I think that the way councils are being told to look at their reserves now is to be more risk-based. So to allocate where risk is appropriate and how much you need to set aside for that, rather than the old-fashioned way, which was a proportionate proportion of your spend will be held in reserve. So I think that for me, I agree with what Councillor Harris says. I think that we need to have a group to look in a little bit of detail, but to be clear, they'll be bringing back recommendations for everyone to discuss and ask questions of. So I think you can be part of all the detail, line by line detail. If you're not on the group, if you do want to get involved in the line by line detail, then by all means, put yourself forward to be part of the working groups.
In which case, if I may, Chairman, in which case we need to say that it can be a group bigger than 4. Which it presently it's recommended that we have 4 in the working group.
That's getting us almost 50% of the committee.
No, I hope that doesn't show your mathematics. 4 out of 8, 4 out of 12 is a third, not half.
Councillor Weller.
I think we've said in the past that any of these working groups does not necessarily have to be drawn from the specific committee, because there may be people with expertise who don't actually sit on this committee, and we wouldn't want to not avail ourselves of that expertise. But at the same time, I think if you have too many who don't get any work done, it's very hard to get a recommendation if there are too many people deciding what the recommendation will be. It's fine to have a recommendation, and then yes, of course, it has to be debated by a wider circle of people, but to get the recommendation, don't overload yourself with too many people.
Okay, let's call it a day on the working groups. We can discuss that next item anyway. So the recommendation we have is whatever working group is formed, we'll have a look at this. Councillor Dickinson.
If I'm correct, it's laid down that we have to have so many, so much of your budget in reserves, just in case, because if Dorset Council goes bust and they don't give us our money, we have to have those reserves in place. Now, our working budget is however much, and you have to have that in place. That is a government requirement. So when you say the government's encouraging a high risk,
No, a risk-based approach.
a risk-based approach, is that to town and parish councils, or is that just to unitary councils?
So it's not a government laid down proportion. Well, in fact, I'll ask the Deputy Town Clerk to answer that.
So, as Townsend Parishes Chair, we have a code of practice which we need to adhere to. And the recommendation within that code of practice is you hold prudent level reserves between 25% and 100% of your precept. Ours is at 25% level at the moment because of the file size, if you had a precept of 5,000, it might be prudent to have 100%. 10,000, so another 5,000 reserves. So that's where we could go in the future.
Yes, so my suggestion was that, because it's a very wide, 25 to 100%, a very wide range, is that the working group looks at what they feel the appropriate level would be. And it might be minimum and it might be higher than that. So I'm not seeing any further comments. Did you need that as an amendment?
We haven't got a proposal.
You would have to, I'm sorry, but before we get to a proposal, so does the adding the look at the appropriate level come as an amendment or?
No, it's not a proposal, it will.
That could be your proposal. Yeah.
Yes. So that if it works up.
Oh, yes, okay.
It should include a review of the appropriateness.
Very efficient to do it. Okay.
So if that could be a proposal as Rich.
Okay, so I'm happy to propose that we accept the three items there as written. Councillor Ferdman is seconding. All those in favour?
No, I'm abstaining.
Oh, sorry, I did say that. Councillor Harris. Any against and abstentions? No. Now that brings us on, thank you all for that, that's really helpful. Brings us on to working groups. Deputy Town Clerk, would you like to take us through?
So, members will recall we have had, working groups as part of the Finance Governance Committee. Previously, obviously this is only, the suggestion of these, working groups, which we could stand up. There is the Asset and Income Working Group, which brings together the, income generation group and the asset working group. And to have it remit as well, to include, looking at some of the leases and licensing issues which need to be, discussed, by a government committee. Budget working group, where if members wanted to, that could, we stood that up normally just to look at the budget, but like, there could be a role for looking at alternative, things like reserves plus, budget monitoring, every quarter. Because there's so much detail, it's very difficult to do that in a committee meeting again, and they just give members reassurance if there's a group of people who can look at that or came to committee. And also the governance working group, of which traditionally has looked at the standing orders, but it could be used to look at or to discuss any of the policy amendments policy before it comes to before us. But that's only just a suggestion of how it could work, Chair. Now, we talked about whether it's just members of this committee. There is an argument, for example, the budget working group, that it could have some members from the services committee, because obviously they don't look at service levels and that needs to be married up with the finances, but I will leave that over to the lecture.
Okay, so that's very helpful. Councillor Weller raised that. That's a very good point as to where the membership lies within this. And Councillor Harris has already raised 4. Is that too few? If you're then going to have a group that is representing the 2 major committees, it feels like 4 is quite small. Having said that, you don't, as Councillor Wells quite rightly said, you don't want it to grow and to be unwieldy. I'll throw it open to the floor. So,
If I recall correctly, we did have 5 people on the budget working group last time, and that didn't feel unwieldy.
No. I think if we, sorry, if we have too many, we don't get the discussion in it.
Can I ask a question? Is there any necessity, I mean, is it party blind, is it colour blind, the other working groups?
yeah.
Or- Thank you, that's my answer.
It could be chaired, then I just make committees as one final point, if we go down the road, it is opened up, it includes a recommendation, they should to
Minimum 4.
recommending it to all councils to consider membership, rather than being able to do it again, that's not true.
Councillor Weller?
Can I ask a question? Are we agreeing now to setting up the working groups, which we know is a given, but are we agreeing that? And then we're asking people to nominate themselves, or are we nominating tonight?
if we accept the deputy town clerk's recommendation, which is to, because it's open to other councillors other than on this committee, it feels we couldn't populate it tonight. But two, it might be that, if we really want to get input from the other committees, then it would need to go back to full council to consider.
If I may, does it need to, or can the leaders speak to their members and put it forward, and then the full council can agree it at
Yeah.
that point, rather than wait? Because otherwise we're that much further down the line again.
Yeah, get that point.
I seem to recall we continued the membership of the previous committees, didn't we?
I think so.
Um,
But it's flexible, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no reason, sorry to not talk through, yeah, but I can't see a reason why we can't tweak it exactly as you described.
And if I could just come back to you, so did you have membership from other committees on those routes?
Councillor Harris.
And also the party with the largest number of seats didn't have the largest number of positions on the actual working group. Now, if, as the opposition has actually been telling us, we should be leading on this council, we should be leading on those subgroups that are actually forming all the policies. And what happens if we put forward 10 names or 6 names or whatever number we decide? Who makes the decision as to who's allowed on that committee, subcommittee?
I'd be very reluctant to go down a proportionality basis
so
for
would I.
the makeup, because these are groups that will bring recommendations forward. It will be down to the makeup of committees and council to decide what they want to agree to.
But who makes the decision as to who's allowed on it?
That will come through, yeah, it'll come, if we agree that we're going to open this to other council, other committee members, then full council will make that decision.
I'm worried that we're pushing on a problem that isn't there.
Yeah.
We don't have, well, our working groups aren't oversubscribed ever. In fact, actually, we're clamouring to get more councillors onto working groups, so. Quick question, in the terms of reference for in standing orders, I think it's known as, does it say we have to have full councillors on a working group? No, so that's just within this recommendation, so it can be any number, it's just on us as the finance committee to confirm those members of those working groups that sit underneath us, because that's what this committee has overview of.
That's good.
I'd just like to make a comment, having been on the budget working group in the past, I found it totally apolitical, that's the word I'm looking for, sorry, totally apolitical. And we were there looking at the budgets for the benefit of Weymouth, not for any political party, and I don't see why we need to bring politics into this.
We don't.
Councillor Bang?
Would it be helpful to have, if we said a minimum of 4, which leaves us the flexibility to have more than 4 if we want to?
Yeah.
So, is that a proposal?
Yeah, go on then.
I'll second it.
Ian, please go.
The screen's gone off, so we just see what we're voting for, please.
So,
Are we likely to get 4 on each committee?
Well, yeah.
Suppose that up to 4, so we want to change that to.
Do you want to
Will we have trouble scraping up 4?
That's what I've just said.
Not a very.
That's very neat suggestion, Councillor Furman.
Can I just say, in the past, what we've done is we've tried to appoint from this committee, for example, and these are the same with services. And if you don't get them from this committee, we then go to leaders and canvass from additional members.
Can I ask you, Councillor Furman, do you believe that we would be able to easily get 4 from the main council? What do people think?
We could get 4 from this committee.
Well, exactly.
We could, but given if we've had trouble in the past.
Absolutely no idea. We're kicking the ball around.
We sorry, Joe, if I may, we put those. As the item suggests, we put those working groups to us now. We fill them as best we can, as we're willing to, and then we go to leaders, full council to fill the rest of the council. It's always worked that way.
Bring us to a conclusion.
I don't think we've had difficulty, but it does tend to be the same people very often, and there's been difficulty in bringing in other people. I think that if we were to fill each of these three groups from this, we should allow ourselves the flexibility of somebody who's very able or very keen, in particular very keen, to join that group, then they shouldn't be precluded from doing so because you've already got four. And I think that we're allowing for that flexibility, aren't we? When we say a minimum of four, that doesn't mean it shouldn't be five.
Yes, understood. Councillor Civil.
I don't disagree with anything councillor Whelan has said there. I'm just conscious of the fact that three of the people on the committee this evening are thank you, councillor Dickinson, that's the word I'm desperately groping for. So we're sort of making an assumption on what 30% of the committee want to do when they're not here.
Wouldn't it be prudent to sort of see how it goes now? And see where we're at?
Yeah, from the
Yeah.
subcommittee members first.
Okay, well, let's do that. Let's take councillor Dickinson, councillor Joe Dickinson's suggestion there. So we've got three groups: assets and income, a budget working group, and governance. I don't have a list of existing membership for them, so I'm relying on people here to say whether they will put themselves up for it. So if we take let's do a test then for we've already discussed the budget working group and its remit, so everyone knows exactly what that is. Do we have volunteers to be part of that? I've got 3 hands going up immediately, 4 hands going up.
David Northern, one to be honest.
Again.
No, it's budget.
No, asset working group, you said, didn't you?
No,
Oh, budget, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
Budget.
Let me try that again. So starting with the budget. So I've got 3 hands going up.
Is your hand David Northam's hand really, or is it really?
No,
yours?
it's mine.
Oh,
So you'd be on the second.
I'll be on the,
You're on the second.
On the second, you're on
Councillor councillor Firman, councillor Nicholson. I've put their hands up for that. And I will add that I imagine councillor Northam, in his absence, isn't here. If he can't do it, then I'm very happy to do that myself. So that'll make them.
And can I just
Four.
say, the councillor Earl was on it last year and he may well want to come on again this year.
And we've got that flexibility with the slight increase.
we, not as it stands at the moment, it still says up to 40.
Minimum.
Yes. But we'll get to that in just a moment. So that's that. If we then go to assets and income. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sorry.
Councillor.
I'm speaking on behalf of Councillor Thomas Taylor, said he was happy to serve.
Okay. That's understood. So it's Taylor, councillor Firman, councillor Dickinson, councillor Weller. And again, we'll give the opportunity to the those absent if they want to put themselves forward at a later date. And then we come to governance.
3 for 3, baby.
And we got councillor Weller, councillor Dickinson, Joe Dickinson, joined all 3, councillor Civil, councillor Taylor.
Would, but prefers to be on asset income, so if you're oversubscribed on governance, you prefer to.
I think you can keep your hands down. And councillor Firman. And again, we'll do the same exercise with those who are unable. In which case, we've councillor Weller.
I'm sorry, Chairman. I'm very happy to be on the budget working group if there is a space, but I didn't want to appear greedy by putting my hands up for all 3.
Your greed is noted. That's cool. So we've got a standard makeup already. We've got an opportunity for others to join. We don't need councillors from other committees, but if they want to put themselves forward, we have the flexibility because we're going to slightly change the wording on the proposal. So can I now have a proposer for the amended officer recommendation, which is to remove a minimum of 4. Oh yes, minimum, keep a minimum of 4, maybe 2, a minimum of 4.
If we haven't proposed it yet, we can just reword it and then propose it, can't we?
Yeah.
Look at councillor Dickinson, who knows these things well.
Well, he hasn't changed the wording.
No, so
We need to change the wording.
Yes.
A minimum of 4, not up to, not up to.
That's what councillor Bank.
definitely says up to, I'm screwing my own.
No, you look above,
No, above.
look above.
Above, is it
Above.
proposed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A minimum.
There we go.
Okay,
The only weakness of that is it doesn't have a maximum, the minimum.
stop it.
So-
You're being accused of
stop
that.
it.
So the legal term is in the order of, four, which implies 4 or 5 or 3, but not 7.
I'm going to rely on the knowledge and skills and expertise of the deputy town clerk that he knows what he's doing. So so do we have a proposer? Councillor Civil, do we have a seconder? Councillor Dickinson, Peter Dickinson, all those in favour? That's
Yeah.
We got that. Thank you, everyone. Well done. And that brings me to item 12, information items. So actions from previous meetings and the forward plan. Does anyone have anything to raise on, let's take actions from previous meetings first? Same thing, and then the forward plan.
On that, Chair, the eagle-eyed Councillor Weller just noted in the forward plan for unless we're going to add those.
Sorry, Ian, I saw you sent me an email, but I didn't read it. So when are you adding those in?
So they are July, November and March each year.
Thank you, thank you.
That's
I changed my broadband today. And it's been a challenging day.
So with that amendment, we've got a recommendation that we note the information items. Do you need a vote on that? As you've just noted. Is everyone just happy to note those two? Noted. And I believe that's it.
Thank you very much.
Gavel report.